Okay, it is 5 p.m. and I'm calling this special meeting of the zoning administrator to order. The statement of purpose. The zoning administrator is appointed by the Planning and Economic Development Director and has the responsibility and authority to conduct public meetings and hearings and to act on applications for minor or reduced review authority projects or entitlements. A determination or decision by the zoning administrator may be appealed to the Design Review and Preservation Board, the Planning Commission, or City Council as applicable to the decision. All actions taken by the zoning administrator may be appealed within 10 calendar days. If the final day of the appeal period falls on a non-business day, the appeal period will be extended to the next business day. We are moving to the first scheduled item, a public hearing for the Meadow Creek Townhomes located at 533 Bellevue Avenue. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Zoning Administrator McKay. The project before you today is the streamlined design review for the Meadow Creek Townhomes at 533 Bellevue Avenue. Oops. The proposal consists of the subdivision of a 4.78 acre site into 62 residential lots with 2 open space parcels. There will be 12 buildings with 62 attached units, 10 of which are 5-plexes and 2 are 6-plexes. The lot sizes range from 1,349 square feet to 1,818 square feet, and there will be 2 common open space areas, a buyer retention area alongside the creek, and a steel fence with gated access to the creek trail. Here's where the project site is located, in the southwest quadrant of Santa Rosa, just adjacent to the county. And here's a closer view of the site. It's just along Bellevue Avenue across from Elsie Allen High School. The general plan land use designation is medium density residential, and the zoning district is R318. And the project is also located within the Roseland area Sebastopol Road specific plan. Here is the history of the project application. There was a pre-application meeting as well as a neighborhood meeting. The project was seen by both the Design Review Board and the Waterways Advisory Committee. And on July 4th, 2025, the project went before the Planning Commission. The required entitlements for the project is the tentative map, which was approved by the Planning Commission on July 4th, 2025, and streamlined design review, which is what's before you today. Here is the site plan. Again, the subdivision and the tentative map were approved by the Planning Commission. This is what went before them as well. And here's the proposed landscape plan. And here are the elevations. There are 2 different architecture types. One utilizes board and batten, and the other utilizes horizontal siding. And there are various color schemes. So each building will have its own unique combination of architectural style and color scheme. Staff is able to make all of the required findings with the proposed design. It was reviewed in compliance with the design guidelines for infill development and multifamily. The design elements and colors are aesthetically pleasing and inviting. The varying colors, textures, and roof lines help to break up the massing of the building. And not only would the buildings have a unique design, but each individual unit kind of has its own look as well. It's compatible with the development to the north and to the east, which also utilize board and batten and horizontal siding. And yeah, so staff is able to support all of the required findings. There was some public comment received both prior to this meeting and the Planning Commission meeting regarding traffic, circulation, parking, maintenance of the site, proximity to the creek, and owls and habitat. These things were addressed during the July 24th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting, and they're also discussed in the staff report, which is attached to the agenda for this meeting as well. And they don't really pertain to the scope of review for the zoning administrator meeting today. The proposed project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. It is statutorily exempt from CEQA pursuant to Government Code 65457 because the project is consistent with the Roseland Area Sebastopol Road specific plan, and there have been no events subsequent to certification of the EIR of the specific plan that would trigger a supplemental EIR. Therefore, the Planning and Economic Development Department recommends that the zoning administrator, by resolution, approve design review for the Meadow Creek Townhomes project, a 62-unit residential subdivision located at 533 Bellevue Avenue. And that concludes my presentation. For any questions or comments, there's my contact information. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Would the applicant like to make a presentation or any comments?
Yes, I don't have a formal presentation. Sashma did a good job of describing the project. We did go to our first design concept review in November of 22. There were some comments about the architecture that came out in that meeting, and we did make some adjustments to the architecture to bring what you have here today. And since we resubmitted that in 2023 and early 2023, the architecture was pretty much set. There were some changes to the site plan, several changes that came about because of the creek setback. So we adjusted from a kind of a central park area to the park being close to the creek because of the creek setback. Those are the only adjustments made since concept was already.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'd like to offer design review board and preservation member Fagin. Fagent, I'm sorry, the opportunity to speak about your perspective on the changes to the architecture.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Agent with an F. It's hard to it's hard to pronounce. No worries about that. Thank you for the update to the design based on the previous design review board comments. I personally wasn't on the board at the time, and I can see the comments made in the narrative as well as the responses. I don't know if you could give a couple examples of items that were updated based on those comments.
Is that for me?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah, I think when we first submitted, there was only one elevation type with the board and bat siding with a mixture of stucco and board and bat siding. So we added the elevation style with horizontal siding. We also added front courtyards to all the homes. And we created some particularly where they face Burgess and some of the main streets, we had a little bit more architectural detail. And that's the gist of what I remember that we did at this time.
Great, thank you. Yeah, no other comments for me. It does appear that attempts were made to address the previous comments.
Great. Thank you, board member Fagin, for being here. I really appreciate it. Let's see if I had questions. Let's just go to public comment. So how this will work is that, yeah, you'll raise your hand and then you'll be called on. And then once you see the timer on the screen and the recording secretary gives you the go-ahead to begin speaking, please do so. And you'll have 3 minutes to make your comment. So if anybody at this point would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand.
Go ahead.
Jackie Gear, we live at 2002 Flapjack Way. We will back right up to the development very quickly. We were told single-family houses when we bought the house. We got the key. The day that we got the key, we were told, no, it's not single-family houses, it's townhouses. One thing on the plats, and Ryder's a wonderful developer. Our house is wonderful. We love it. Working with Aaron and Carlos, great. And I can get into that later if I have time. No garages on the architectural drawings. And there are garages in the townhouses as far as I can see. So that's something that you sort of have to know where those garages are going. That's very important. Density is over double what we were told it was going to be. Instead of having one house backing up to us, we're going to have over two. The townhouses behind us right now, they do not have enough parking spaces. They park on Flapjack Way, which is our street, and Common Way. And last week someone had cleaned out the bed of their truck. I was picking up screws so it wouldn't give people flat tires, and razor blades, carpet razor blades. So just, we don't want that. We can't take more density in parking. The other thing is Burgess, during opening of school and closing of school each day, Monday through Friday, is car to car from Burgess all the way down to Bellevue. And the only entrance into the perspective of development is on Burgess. Those people aren't going to be able to get out. If there's an emergency, they're not going to be able to get out. And we have emergencies there. Since I've been there we've been there for 2.5 years. We've had 2 shootings, 2 knifings. When that happens, it's car to car on every single street and all the way down Burgess. So where are these people going to park? How are they going to get out? And I don't think that was addressed. For their sake, these are going to be good quality townhouses. They're not going to have adequate parking. I know that they fall within the amount for Santa Rosa. Obviously, with the townhouses behind us, that's not sufficient. So Ryder's a great builder, but I don't think this has been addressed. Also, we're going to have to watch grading, and I want this to go in record. Again, Ryder's great, but during the rainy season, that field becomes a little lake. So if that isn't graded correctly, all of that water is now going to go into our houses. And that's something we have to be aware of. We put everything that we had into this house. We moved from the east here to be closer to our son and his partner. We can't afford to have a $20,000 or $30,000 flood in our house for damages. We just can't. We're retired, fixed income. So that's something that you guys are going to have to watch very carefully. I assume Ryder will do good, but sometimes things go under the wire. But the parking and the getting out during an emergency or opening of school in the morning, closing of school is impossible. I'm not sure if you've been there when school opens and closes.
Do you just
We
wrap up
can't
your
get out of
comments so we can-
Flapjack.
Everybody has the opportunity to speak.
Yep, okay, great.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Would anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, Marc-André Robert. I live at 2018 Flapjack Way. So basically, the construction will happen right behind my house. So I have concerns because I have a single level house, and there are other people like me. And basically, there will be only from my fence only about 12 feet before there's a structure like 2-story homes, and I have a concern for privacy. So it's very close. So I think a better way to have done this architectural design is to actually put like maybe a spacer with trees or something that can actually allow privacy for people, especially like single level homes. When I bought the house, I was told, well, maybe there will be a development behind, but I didn't have the details about the density of the constructions that will be done. So I have concern about the density of the new development. And I think lady raised really good points about if there's any changes in the sewers and if that actually, like, I know this field gets very damp, like during the rain season. So there's definitely that is definitely a concern. Regarding the quality of homes, I think I'm generally satisfied with my own, but I had some issues with some things that had to be done, some defects, and they were not able to be addressed in times, even if I used the online system to report issues. So they were never resolved in time, and I was not trying to overload the system either. So I did a list a little bit before my 1 year warranty, and they were not able to fulfill the things that had to be done, which were mostly minor things. So I have some concerns regarding the quality from this perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else attending and would like to make a public comment?
I'm Roger Gear. I'm also in 2002 Flapjack Way. And if you can, I don't know if you can go back to your slide 9 from the presentation, but that's the overview of the layout of the units. Just so you can understand the prior comments, this table is 10 feet long. That is my fence. You are a housing development, not personally, but you could be. You are at least, if there is an issue, if there is an emergency, a fire, a gas leak, well, there won't be a gas leak because you have to put in gas anymore. The problem is we have a 10-foot easement to get emergency equipment in. There's a ditch going through here. So there's no way to get equipment in. So you have to understand that we are concerned about the easement and the backing, also privacy. So I just wanted to reemphasize that. I'll cede the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori Freeland, 2013 Flapjack Way. I think traffic is going to be congested. We already see it on Flapjack Way and Brighter. I leave at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work, and both sides of the street are packed as it is, and they're all homes. And then you're going to put in these homes. I can go down to Tuxhorn and Pebble Creek, where there are other homes exactly like this on Dutton Meadow. And they're all wall-to-wall cars, no matter what time of day you drive down that street. And they're starting to come over Tuxhorn by the park and getting into the community there and parking, not allowing the own residents to be able to park in their own street. The other thing, when we moved in, we were told that that corner lot where they are planning on putting this was a salamander reserve. What happened to that? Did that go to the wayside? Did the owls in the trees and the eucalyptus, are they going to lose their home? What about the wildlife? We're kind of going into feeding into them. And I have talked to the wildlife group. And you're invading their space too. But emergency, if there's an emergency at the school, if there's an emergency at any of the homes in there, we're in trouble. Even though they may have parking for maybe 1 car per unit over there, it's not going to be enough. The other units that were built on to the other side as well, where these are that they're gonna side to, they're having a parking issue. So I don't know what to say. I think it's a bad move. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else attending in person who would like to make public comment?
Well, just maybe I can add.
We usually just do one comment per person, but if you want to do a
Yeah,
short.
just 10 seconds. It's also like I'm thinking like the construction will happen during 2 years, right? So that there will be some traffic issues. If I can just add this in.
Okay.
Can I just add one thing,
Yeah,
real quick?
less than 10
Last
seconds,
summer,
please.
we had a fire in the vacant field beside us, which is where the road goes through. The townhouses, there was some alcohol involved. We're setting off firecrackers. One firecracker, it fell over. The field went up in flames like that in the vacant lot beside us. We're right at the end. Fire equipment had to come in through our street and through the townhouses. If we increase the parking on there, it decreases the ability for emergencies. Luckily, they put the fire out. But had they not been able to get there as quickly as they had, our house would have been engulfed in flames.
Okay, thank you.
So that goes with my husband of 53 years. Who I love and adore his comment.
Okay, so I've noted down the kind of the concerns at a relatively high level, but both staff and the applicant also heard what was expressed, so I'll offer them the opportunity to respond, maybe starting with the applicant, just about, I can help you with some of the topics, or if you just want to kind
Well,
of start it off.
yeah, I'll go down the list, but first of all, as far as the density of the site, we've owned this site since 2002. And it's been zoned it's been zoned 8 to 18 units to the acre since the 90s. So it's been public knowledge that the density would be in that range. And it's about 13 units to the acre is what the density is as designed. I don't know who would have said that it was anything different, but it wasn't me. Parking is about 2.7 to 1. There are 2 car garages on every unit. And there are also 45 other parking spaces around the site. The architecture that faces the backyards of the homes on Flapjack is actually the front elevation of the architecture. So hopefully that's the more appealing part of the architecture. The garages are on the other side of the house, where there's an alley. That's where the fire access would be for those houses, would be in that alley. The area, the 12 feet between the elevation and the fence is actually a landscape paseo with a sidewalk for access for those homeowners, and it's planted with trees and so forth. If there was any other issues that you had.
I mean, a couple follow-ups, I think. So the trees that would be planted on the northern side between the Flapjack backyards and the project. Do you know the species and how tall those are supposed to get, and maybe how fast they grow?
We are not on the plan.
Well, I'd have to look up the landscape.
Yeah, I think it was in the original plat of, it did say, it didn't have the speed.
Water gum.
Water gum is the species.
Yeah, water gun, 15 gallon. Yeah.
Let's see.
How fast would they grow? I mean, obviously it's in the beginning, they're not going to be that big, but they will grow to be tall trees.
So let's see, I remember looking at the landscape plan and it does show the height. Because yes, I understand and share the concern with how close these structures would be to existing backyards.
If I may ask,
So sorry, we generally don't, we have a public comment period and then
sorry,
it's generally not a collaborative approach, unfortunately. That would be nice, but as the crowd size gets bigger, it becomes
just
kind of
trying to
unreal
understand.
to.
No problem.
It
Manage
does say there the water gun would be 40 feet in height, 20-foot spread.
20-foot spread. So, okay, thank you. So, and then you kind of touched on the garages, but my understanding is that the elevations do include a rear elevation, which includes the garages. The garages themselves, like the applicant said, don't face the backyards of the homes on Flapjack. So they've been kind of rotated to show the front kind of more detailed elevation. Parking. And then was there any consideration to an access point on Common Way for the project? Because there was a concern about the single access point and traffic.
Well, there is an emergency vehicle access on the northernmost street that connects to Common Way.
And if I could just add to that, this was something that came up during the planning commission hearing, at which we had our city's traffic engineer, Rob Sprinkle, present. And he said that he found one access point to be sufficient because the peak AM trips are expected to be 30 and peak PM hour trips are expected to be 35. So he doesn't see a concern with just having one for vehicles and then having the other for.
Could you explain that? I didn't understand that.
The amount of trips that are expected to take place per hour, there was a traffic study done. The amount in the peak AM and peak PM hours were only 30 and 35, which are very low. So he did not see the need for.
Do you mean out of the perspective of development?
With your husband, we generally don't get it in a back and forth. I understand sometimes we won't understand responses to questions, especially highly technical things like traffic counts and traffic studies, but we can have more collaborative discussions after the meeting.
I can give you
and
my
during-
contact information if you have more
Yeah.
questions.
Thank you. I understand that's not ideal, but that is the kind of the decorum of these types of meetings. Okay, so thank you. It sounds like the traffic engineer was present at the planning commission meeting and he explained the findings and did not find there to be a conflict with the single access point on Burgess. Thank you. And then there was a concern about flooding or just kind of the accumulation of moisture during rain events. Does
Well, all of
anybody?
That is gonna be, well controlled by the engineering plan. I mean, the water is gonna be diverted away from, for instance, the northern property line. Storm drain system will go into, in the direction of Colton Creek.
Okay,
It's a storm drain that has already been sized for this, as well as, sewer and water connections.
right. Okay, thank you. And then kind of on that note, the salamander and kind of the wildlife impacts. I did review the communication with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. But if you want to just kind of summarize what was responded
Well,
to.
we are required to, since we're gonna develop the site, we're required to mitigate for the loss of salamander habitat. And we've purchased mitigation for that. There's a wetland on the site. We also purchased wetlands elsewhere to mitigate for the loss of the wetland. And as far as the owls and, we're not going to cut the trees. We're gonna cut them outside of nesting season, so there's no issues with nests.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything to add on that?
That is a condition of approval. It's a requirement that they cannot cut down the trees during nesting season, so.
Okay, thank you. And then impacts to the neighborhood during the construction phase. Would you be able to kind of speak to that?
Yeah, that's more, the city has a long list of rules and requirements. while we're under construction. So we will of course follow all the rules that they have. We'll do the best we can to minimize disruption.
Okay. Then, yeah, so sorry, I have a note here too. I understand there may be somebody attending on Zoom with their hand raised. Unfortunately, we do not take comments on Zoom, but the planner's information is on the notice that you received in the mail or saw in the paper or saw on the sign at the project site. So I would recommend providing your comment to the planner. Unfortunately, you cannot provide your comment during the public hearing for this item. I didn't formally close the public hearing. I'll give one final opportunity to anybody who has not already spoken to raise their hand and provide a public comment. Okay, so with that, I will close the public comment. Thank you. Thank you for the discussion. I shared a lot of similar types of concerns and questions. One thing I did not see, and I searched, do we know the breakdown for specifically the 2 native species of trees that are proposed for the mitigation? There's a list of trees, and then there's little dots on the landscape plan, but I didn't see like a table that outlined the totals. And I know that that's a condition of approval that you'll have to comply with our mitigation standards, but I just was wondering if you had an idea.
I think we do. I think we do have that. I didn't bring the whole set of plans though, so I don't, but we can provide that.
Okay.
It says 88 15-gallon trees are proposed for mitigation, but I'm not sure which. I think they're using the species within that are in the table.
Right.
Oh, you mean the nativity of the trees?
Just like the number of trees, like the breakdown by species. I
Oh, I
was curious
understand.
about that, but that's okay. Kind of related to trees, is there going to be an HOA for this
Yes.
neighborhood? And will it be part of a larger HOA or is it a distinct HOA?
It's an HOA for this project, which will, be responsible for maintaining all the landscape that you see here.
Okay, that was my follow-up question. I appreciate that. Okay, thank you again, everybody. This was quite the project to review. So yeah, I mean, my first reaction was looking at the number of trees to be removed. It's relatively significant. We do have a process that allows the removal of trees. Eucalyptus are also invasive, yet are also serving as habitat. And we do have standards to avoid those when they're being removed. So.
Can I clarify one thing that came up? The distance between the property line at Flapjack Way of those residences, the rear property line, the distance from that to the actual face of the building at its closest point is actually 17 feet. There's 10 feet from that property line to the 3.5-foot fence that creates the private porch. And then it's another 7 to 8.5 feet to the actual building. So it's equivalent to kind of the same backyards that are in Flapjack, right?
Okay, that is helpful. I appreciate that. Okay. Let me just finish my thoughts on trees. So yeah, eucalyptus invasive. They're particularly flammable compared to some other natives. And they do threaten local biodiversity by starving out flowers and other types of wildlife. So I always hate to see a tree go because they're carbon sequesters, but I think in terms of like long-term viability of bioresources, I think this is going to be an improvement. Just in the short term, we'll have to wait for those trees to grow, which I understand. I mean, driving around the neighborhood, I think these renderings and the material sheets reflect a very similar quality, high quality materials and the architectural details of the homes themselves, I thought were quite attractive. And I also appreciate how the applicant changed it from being a single type to multiple types in response to the design review and preservation board comments they received a while back. And that is, at the end of the day, kind of the meat of what is subject to my review is the architecture and the site design and layout. It's hard to think of these things in a vacuum, which is why I think about trees and these other types of matters and flooding and stuff like that. But I do want to just emphasize that I hear and share your concerns as it relates to the design review. My kind of the limits of my review is the design, architecture, site layout, and the planning commission had very specific findings that they had to make to approve the map and the small lot subdivision, or and I have very specific findings to make the design review findings. So I understand it's can be kind of complicated and convoluted, and but just kind of wanted to lay that out there as well. So yeah, and then another big kind of thing that I already mentioned was that proximity from the front elevation of the northern units to the backyard fences of the homes on Flapjack. It's somewhat of a relief to hear that it's not 10 feet or 12 feet, it's 17 feet. That is still, I understand the privacy concerns. The homes themselves are several feet below the maximum height, which would be allowed here, which I think is reflective of the applicant not taking everything they can with height and density and things like that, because they're also not reaching the maximum density, which they could, as the applicant referenced. And then when you also add the trees, which I understand will take a bit to grow, but once they do, I'm hoping that there will be relatively little to no privacy concerns there.
We gotta go.
And also just the location, I think, in terms of its connectivity to natural spaces and the school, I could see families enjoying.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I could see families enjoying the proximity to Elsie Allen High School and also the connection to the pathway that then leads them to the lower Colden Creek area, which is currently out of commission, but I think that will be quite a nice space to hang out and kind of just explore the general broader neighborhood. So I think with that, I agree with staff's findings. For all those kinds of reasons, I think the architecture is quite compatible. It helps when a developer will build kind of in phases. They know they're responding to what's already been built because they were the ones who built it. And I'm pleased to hear that some people's experiences have been positive with the quality of the builds. And he is an experienced developer. Let's see, is there anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, I think I can also make all of the required findings as staff has noted in the resolution. I have no proposed additions to or modifications to conditions of approval. And I approve the project. Please note this approval is final unless an appeal is filed with the city clerk's office within 10 calendar days of today's decision. For this item, that date is Monday, September 15th, 2025. Again, thank you all for being here. Thanks to staff for the presentation, and I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.